Today on Switch to Linux, we will talk about why prices of everything in the computer world keep going up. It's because we keep buying it. But do we have a choice? Thanks for checking out this video by Switch to Linux. If you like this type of content, subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more. Leave us a like and a comment down below. We are going to be talking about the massive increase of computer parts because we actually saw something very frightening this last week. The new Steam Decks came back in and they sold out within 24 hours, even after massive almost 50% price increases. Now, Steam Decks have been sold out for a long time. The only criticism I would have with Steam is, they got rid of an LCD version and to replace it with an OLED version, and that caused the initial price increase. But now it's because of the RAM and other computer prices that are skyrocketing of as much as 90% since the beginning of the year. And I think they should go back and start reintroducing the LCD versions again because they were slightly cheaper. Effectively, the Steam Decks hit the market again. They went from $549 to $789 for the 512 gigabyte models. 1 terabyte models went from $649 to $949. Massive increases. And the sad thing is they sold out in less than 24 hours. Now, it would, in a perfectly ideal world, it would be better if we didn't buy this and people recognize the economy starts to stall when these prices get so high, so that somebody in on some position of power may be able to do something or propose something about it. Of course, asking the political leaders in any party to solve anything is an exercise in sheer futility. But all that being said, we need computers, but they're becoming so high priced. This is causing cars to go up in price. It's causing houses to go up in price. You know that a lot of houses now, what's interesting is modern real estate contracts will even have clauses on IoT devices that might be embedded in those houses. Isn't that frightening? It's kind of weird. All right. But looking at all of the various options here, they released these almost 50% increases and they sold out in 24 hours. Now, it's not Steam Deck. It's not Steam being crazy greedy. It's that people needed these, or I don't know if you would really ever need a Steam Deck. They really wanted the Steam Decks and they were willing to pay the inflated prices. Steam was forced to increase the prices because of the rising RAM prices. Raspberry Pi had the same issue on April 1st, and this is not fake news, but the prices of Raspberry Pis went up dramatically. I mean, I have a bunch of Raspberry Pi 4s. I think most of mine are 4 gig boards that I think I bought for maybe $40 or $60. I think I have one 8 gig and I have one 8 gig Raspberry Pi 5, which I want to say I bought that for maybe $100 or so. But because of the massive increase in prices, they were forced to increase their prices. Now, this price increase column is not the new price. This is how much the price went up from the beginning of the year. And I believe this is the second time they increased their prices this year. Raspberry Pi 4 and 5 with 4 gigs of RAM went up $25. The 8 gig went up $50. The Pi 15 with 16 gigs of RAM. I would love to get my hands on one of these, but not at like $300. I should have actually bought one when I was at a Micro Center in Texas. They might have actually been at $300 there. I can't remember for sure. The Pi 500 went up by $50. The Pi 500 Plus went up $150. Pi 500 Plus kit went up $150. And then there's small price increases for some of your compute modules and things like that. So what their advice on this blog post is, hey, consider what your project is and look at what RAM you actually need. It may not actually be in your best interest right now to just buy the biggest one you can because it's so expensive right now. And why is this happening? Well, data centers mostly. We talked about this on the Weekly News Roundup, but back in December, Micron, this is the manufacturer of Crucial RAM and Crucial hard drives, they've announced they're exiting the consumer business. Why? Because they can spend all this on individual packaging, and they can sell these individual things, a broad variety of all these different stores and individual units. It's a lot of extra time and a lot of extra effort. But they looked down and said, hey, the data centers will just buy a big old case of it without any packaging. Guess what? That's a whole lot cheaper. So they said, well, we're just going to go ahead and sell out for the next couple of years and just not even worry about them plebs that want to pick up some memory for their computers. Or maybe even I'm wondering if I don't think this is 100% data centers, so they're probably working still deals with your big manufacturers like your HP, Dell, or other computer manufacturers, so that they can continue to produce computers and still get a decent price. But the reality is, according to Northeastern Global, the RAM prices are going up mostly because of data centers. Data centers, in fact, in some instances, they're buying up the components before they even have the plan, the place, or the permits to build the data centers. And I think that if you were going to be passing any form of laws, and several laws have been proposed, it should be, hey, you cannot place your order for this stuff until you're a certain distance along in the permitting process, because otherwise people are just buying up all the inventory. You realize millions of sticks of RAM that could be on the consumer market, bringing the prices back down, are simply sitting in warehouses of massive corporations because they have a plan to build a data center, but they're not quite ready yet. They don't have the plans or the permits or the permissions that they need yet to do that. And that really is where the problem is. That's causing a massive increase in our RAM prices while they're sitting here hoarding all of this. And then meanwhile, they're working deals with the RAM companies to say, hey, we'll give you a boatload of cash all up front if you can just, keep us stocked here so we never have to wait on RAM. And that's effectively what they're saying. Now, this article came out in February, so just a couple months ago, and this all has to do with the RAM prices being driven by the AI stuff. So remember this, every time you see one of those cute AI videos of a kitten and a robot battling it out, and you're like, that's so funny, I'm going to share that on social media. You are encouraging the big companies to make AI slop, which will increase the data centers and continue to rise the prices of your computers. So we have to spread that hashtag, stop the slop. You see videos of kittens and robots battling, something that doesn't bring anything real to the table. It's just cute and funny. Hashtag stop the slop, downvote it. Obviously, of course, if you're hashtagging it, it's going to still cause it to rise in the algorithm and some evil. But hey, maybe we can get enough negative publicity here, because that's really what is going on here. According to Tom's Hardware, in January, up to 70% of memory chips made in 2026 is already en route to go into data centers. In fact, some of these RAM companies, they are sold out of inventory until 2028. Causing a massive price of everything to go way up. And that is the serious biggest problem that we have. And so what can we possibly do about this? I think one thing we can do is look at what local laws or ordinances or bills are being proposed in your area. And no matter who is sponsoring them, if it's Republicans or Democrats, call up those senators, call up those congressmen, congress ladies, congress days, and let everybody know you do not want these data centers going out. We need to have solid, rigid structure about when and how a data center can go in. Not only do they cause a massive problem with the RAM, they also are causing a lot of problems with the energy. The fact that that's the footprint of that, it will create a lot of jobs initially, but the amount of jobs it will have in the long term is greatly diminished. In fact, back in January, I was out at a Van Lifers conference, and I was working with a guy there. We were on the team setting everything up for the conference out there, and he was telling me he just does odd jobs, living on the road, does odd jobs as many people do in van life, and he was basically a building construction person. He actually went up into, it was in either in Oregon or Washington, and they built the largest robotic Amazon facility up there. He's like, yeah, I kind of feel bad that I'm building this robotic facility because it means fewer people have jobs, but hey, it means I have a job now. And that's not a denigration on him, but that's the type of short-term thinking that leads us into a future that we will indeed own nothing and be forced to be happy. You own nothing. Smile. Smile. And that's the challenge that we have. So support the plans to put a pause, a slowdown on these data centers. We do not need them destroying the water tables. We do not need them destroying the power infrastructure. And there's a lot of fundamental problems. Now, not to say we do not need any at all, but if our entire intention is to destroy the entire world, and I do also notice nobody's screaming global warming anymore. Where's Greta Thunberg and her cohort of mentally delinquent people supergluing their hands to these buildings? I don't see that happening anymore. Bill Gates was completely for save the planet, so much that he was going to cut down entire forests and bury them in the desert. I have no idea why. Prevent that carbon from ever making it into the atmosphere. You can build a lot of houses with that. Screw those people. They don't need houses. Okay, Bill. But now he's like, I have to choose climate change or AI data centers. Let's choose the AI data centers. Let's resist this nonsense. If it comes down to cats and robots battling it out in videos, don't be sharing that crap. Stop the slop all the way. And maybe, just maybe, we can get the computer prices down to the point where, the most critical thing everybody wants our world to have, we can actually afford, which is kind of crazy. So I don't know. Let me know if you got anything out of this crazy, disjointed rant. Let me know that in the comments down below. Subscribe to the channel if you've not already done so. Leave us a like and a comment down below. Thanks for watching, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.